Okay, welcome to episode 100 of From the Valley podcast. I'm your host, Tim Wilshire. We've got where it all began is today. Today marks a year and a half that I've been doing this, the 100th episode, and also the 20th year at CTBS. And here we have a special guest who was there on the very first episode. His name's Murray Sutherland. He's the president of the Valley Chamber of Commerce. And he's coming online right now. G'day, Murray. How are you? To see if you can hear me, just thumbs up.
Yep.
Good. I can hear you fine.
Okay?
I think so. It's just a little bit light, but I'll see if I can just turn the volume up a little bit.
No worries.
Just seems a little bit light, but that's okay. Just speak again now, Murray. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really well. How are you going?
Yep, that's very, very clear. All good. So episode 100 of From the Valley podcast today. This is part of that episode, Murray.
Excellent. What an achievement. I remember doing number one with you.
Yeah, so number one, that's right. So that's why I've got you on number 100 as well. So just wanted to go back to sort of where we started. I was trying to think of a way to what was the most appropriate sort of thing to do when it comes to episode 100, and had a few different ideas. But at the end of the day, it's always good to go back to where you started. And obviously, without the Valley Chamber of Commerce, this podcast series wouldn't have happened. And it's obviously been, to the support of the president, yourself, Murray Sutherland, and your board for, we've had a lot of great guests on over the 100 episodes. I think this is the third time we've had you on, but we've had a few other special episodes in there as well, which you may have been involved in. But it's an interesting. This is the goal I sort of set out when I started 2 years, do 100 episodes, and here we are in May 2020. Sort of coincides also with 20 years working here at Confidential Tax and Business Services. It just happened this early at the start of this month. So
congratulations to you guys.
Yeah, no worries. I guess this COVID-19 and what's been happening, I guess last week it's been very, very, I guess, a bit of a shock to the system for a lot of people. There's been a couple of podcasts, obviously, that I've done already where we've spoken to people about how they've been affected and whatnot. But you, as the president of the Valley Chamber of Commerce, tell us what's been happening. Where do you want to start with the Valley Chamber or your work, I guess?
Oh, look, either or is fine. But I mean, I guess leading in from a general perspective, I mean, it's very obvious to everyone out there that this is, a massive disaster. And it's something that, there's been a lot of very successful businesses that have, borne the brunt of this whole COVID scenario. And look, it's unfortunate. It exists. There's nothing we can do about it at this point in time. So, I think, as many businesses as they can are trying to pivot and change and adjust where they can. Look, the reality of it is some businesses it will be too late for. So, and won't survive, but certainly there's a lot out there that are, changing and adapting the way they're doing business. I think, if there is an upside, which is a big struggle to say there's an upside, but I think, what will probably come out of this is that a lot of businesses will have reinvented the way that they actually work, not only in terms of clients or sales or operations, but also how they manage their staff. And I think it's forced a lot of businesses to, with staff working from home that probably would never have thought about doing that in a million years. So, I mean, there is an upside to those sorts of things, but certainly, not from a, the downside is certainly outweighs the upside in my view right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just sort of start how it's affecting you, I guess, at more of a personal or business level. Because I know that obviously what you do in business, you do a lot of marketing when it comes to events and different, Kinetic is involved in running festivals, and there's been obviously would have had to have been quite a few cancellations that you would have had to endure. And I guess tell us a bit about that and what you've had to do in your business.
Oh, look, there's just no other way to describe it. It's been horrendous for me and my business. And, the reality of it is, we basically have two very two different components to our business. One is our major events and festivals. And, by definition, that's the first thing that gets wiped and probably going to be the last thing that gets reinstated back in the community. So all our major festivals and events are mass gatherings. So we specialise in big street festivals and all that type of thing. So the reality of it is, and they're also not essential. So these are events that are, essentially fun. They're designed to bring communities together. So the reality of those, I spent 2 weeks when this crisis unfolded doing cancellation budgets to clients, and I personally, or Kinetic has personally lost 9 festivals and major events out of that, plus many other smaller events and activations that we had in the pipeline. So it's just the reality, they were wiped instantly. So where that left me was I still have a creative side to my business. So where we do traditional advertising, marketing, design and creative, and that's sort of initially how Kinetic started off as well. So, have
you sort of changed anything in that side of the business then? To tell us a bit about what you've changed, I guess, where you can control a few things, and I guess how that's going.
Yeah, I mean, look, the creative side of it, as I said, it's a much smaller part of our revenue that stands on its own. So we did a lot of creative work that were linked to festivals. So, so we not only lost the event management side of it, but we lost all the marketing components that were linked to the festivals. So what it left was, sort of 3 or 4 clients that I'm working on at the moment that, we still do straight creative that have no link to events and festivals. And those clients and what we're working on hasn't changed. So we're still doing branding, creative, marketing, all sorts of packaging design, but it is a very reduced component to our business, and probably 90% of our revenue is linked to our festivals and events. So, it's enough there that keeps myself and one other busy in the business. But it's taken a baseball back to what we've done, and we've just got to work through it and do the best we can right now under difficult circumstances. So, we have definitely been hit very hard by this.
Yeah, obviously being an accountant, we've had lots of different clients that have, there's a massive number actually when you look at the overall numbers as to people that have been affected greatly, by these, by what's happened when it comes to COVID-19. It's been massive, and, entertainment industry is certainly going to take a massive hit for the duration of the year.
Great.
It's just horrific when it comes to that. There's just so many different festivals and different events and people playing at the pub, all those types of things are just not going to happen for maybe a little while. So
I agree.
It's just going to take, it looks like it's slow steps to get back to where we were. And then by that stage, which businesses are going to survive, the strong survive, changing models, changing the way things are done, being able to keep staff there ready in case we do be able to, can we sort of get going again? Is what the government providing us going to be enough to be able to survive to that point? I mean, things like JobKeeper are great, cash flow boost or whatever. All those things are fairly good and certainly much needed. And we're talking, tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases for each business. It's quite a lot, but at the end of the day, there's more revenue that's been wiped away. So it's certainly a struggle, but I sort of don't like to be in the I'm obviously in the shoes that I'm here to help these types of businesses try to access what they can when it comes to JobKeeper, when it comes to cash flow boost, and there's no end to how many clients are affected from what I can see.
Look, I think the government's, under the circumstances, I mean, as we keep using the statement there, it's unprecedented time. So, I mean, there is no manual to go to when these things unfold. So, any government, either side of politics, would have been under enormous strain, trying to work out how to, first of all, assess, secondly, understand an action plan, or create an action plan, and then thirdly, actually implement the plan. So, that's a huge task in itself. And as I said, there's no rule book as to how this gets delivered. So I think given those circumstances, pretty much all governments have responded, I think, fairly well. However, as I keep coming back to saying, is that it's just simply going to be too late, even though it's been fairly swift for some businesses to survive. And I mean, there will be, certainly a lot of businesses that would have been struggling out there in the first place. And just that initial whack from COVID would just be enough to initially, instantly wipe them out. So even though, and then there's others that would be, doing it tough, but they can probably see themselves surviving through to the government incentives when they kick in physical cash. So, we're going to see a lot more fallout, I think, going forward. I think it hasn't even scratched the surface, unfortunately. And I think, those businesses that seem to have, sort of fairly broad services or products that they deliver or can provide, then they'll probably be in a better place. But the ones that are, there are some that are just purely linked to the result of COVID-19's fallout, simple as that. I mean, I know of a couple other major events companies that that's all they do is purely events, and literally, close their doors the week that the announcement was made. Every single project was just deleted. So, I think bunker on in. It's going to be a long haul, I think, for the next 6, 8, whatever it is, 12 months. None of us really know.
So I guess the Valley Chamber of Commerce, I think we did have an event on sort of the end of February. We obviously cancelled the last couple of meet and mingles and any other events that were planned over the last 2 to 3 months. I guess is it hard to predict at this stage when, I guess, events will start again for the Valley Chamber? Is it still too hard to predict, or do you have a bit of a time frame in mind for what you think might be a good time?
No, I don't think it's hard. I think it's impossible because at the moment, we are certainly 100% governed by the government restrictions. So, as I say, even if it was a gathering of 30 or 40 people, and obviously a lot of our meet and mingles, we get up to 200, 220 people at some of the bigger ones, and down to smaller ones that'll be sort of, I don't think we've done one under about 80 people in a long, long time. So, those numbers are still considered to be mass gatherings. But I do think, obviously, the government will, eventually lift the restrictions. I think they're talking about there's an education plan in place there at the moment to get kids rolling back into school. So, all of these things will take priority, and as they should. I mean, kids' education. My kids are at home schooling at the moment, and kind of feel like that's a bit debatable whether they're just filling in time or really learning a lot. But look, the sooner they get back into school, or all the kids get back to school, we know that's going to be better for everyone. But to answer your question, no, we have no visibility in terms of timings. And certainly our hands are tied based on the restrictions, that are in place at the moment. So if I was to tell you what I'd like to probably happen, best case, it'd be nice if we could be starting to do these things at the back end of the year. But look, I mean, I've got no idea like anyone else has, to be honest.
Yeah, it becomes hard. I mean, there's a lot of, at one stage, the chamber had, 30 to 40 events per year that it was doing. So it's hard to know how many will get in. Whether you'll do a street festival, it's hard. These things are hard to predict based on the current environment. And I guess everyone's just itching to get out there and see one another as well. And we've had to sort of do it in this sort of manner now. We're using programs like Zoom a lot for group sort of meetings. Have you been using Zoom much in the last 6 weeks? I guess you have.
Yeah, I have. All of our board meetings have been via Zoom as well. So, I've been doing a lot on, sort of professional meetings. But, I'll talk about on a fun side of things. Me and mates have been having, online barbecues together and cooking. So, I mean, we all get onto I think it's Facebook, FaceTime Mate. And there's 6 and 7 of us all link up. Keep our phones, we all go and cook meals together, a few drinks and a few meals, and it's just a different way of having a barbecue with your mates. It's actually been quite fun. But again,
so, how many of those have you done?
3 so far, so been good, been really good. So would we have been doing that beforehand? Probably not. So it's sort of forcing you to definitely think about things differently. My youngest daughter specifically, she will work on Zoom with all of her school friends. So, whilst there's probably limited contact from teachers, she will load up every morning. She sits there and does her homeschooling with all of her school friends. So at least they can be sharing information if they're not sure how something works. And she's in grade 5. So, I mean, these are kids that are, working ways and means around still keeping in contact with their friends at this point in time, but also, I guess, utilising that to help self-educate themselves peer to peer. So those are the things that are good. One other point I'll probably make is the fitness industry. What a transformation that's gone through. I was only reading some data yesterday on the amount of people that had gym memberships. It's astronomical. So the gyms that are reinventing themselves to do all these online, training courses is great. I mean, I do one myself most mornings with Fitstop, and the way that they've set that up is incredible. Like, they'll have 50 people all being trained in one class, all online. And it's brilliant. It really is very good.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I mean, I with the gym stuff, I mean, I went to Kmart, spent about $200 and got all this stuff to work out from home, basically. Mats and the TRX, which you can hang into a pole, medicine balls, all the different, a few different weights, and it's you can, it's good to have the area at home so I can do that sort of workout. So I've been keeping up to date. I've been starting to go do some walking as well, which I'm starting to get back into, and doing some 90-minute walks just to keep the flow going. Can't really sort of run anymore with my knees and stuff, but it's certainly enjoying being a bit of exercise and just keeping out there and keeping sort of active.
I've been doing the same thing. I've been doing a lot more walking as well. It's pushed me into doing that. I mean, if you just sit there at home, you go stir crazy. So, I mean, for your own mental health in this situation, it's very important to get out and, be able to have a bit of fresh air and sort of think about how things all are at the moment. So, one other quick point as well is the bike industry, bike sector. I mean, they'll be the beneficiary out of all of this. And, 99 bikes and brands like that who are going absolutely gangbusters because, again, it's forcing people to get out where they, ordinarily may not have done that. And apparently what I've been told is they cannot sell enough bikes right now.
That's really good for the biking. I was thinking I needed to get another bike again now, but because I did get one from 99 bucks a couple of years ago that's now no longer around. But so that the shops have been really busy though. Every time I sort of a lot of the times when I go to the shops, they just seem really busy at the moment. Have you found that?
Yeah, I reckon definitely in the last week things have become a lot busier. I think probably just before that it was pretty dead, and even I'm finding the streets are starting to definitely become busier and trying to find car parks.
Mainly the grocery shops are really busy,
Yeah. But also the queues with the social distancing, it's probably forcing the length of time, to get in and out of a shop has increased dramatically. But, that's just because of the slowed up process due to distancing. But again, it's just part of life right now that we've got to work through.
Yeah. So so the other people that you've spoken to in the Valley Chamber, I guess the board and that, how they also been affected by what's going on? Have they sort of, what are some other comments and feelings that you've sort of heard or seen, or I guess that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a bit of a mixed bag across our board. Some of them definitely had copped a beating, and some of them have, adjusted in the way that they operate. I mean, I don't particularly want to speak specifically on behalf of any of the board members' business outcomes because I don't know them in that much detail. But look, broadly speaking, some have definitely taken a hit like myself, and then others are sort of just manoeuvring through the process and. Obviously being forced to change in the way they operate as well. So, one probably comment I can make is Amanda Cooper, the Vice President, running RACQ Bank. I mean, banking would be a difficult industry just to pick up, I'm assuming, and just go and work from home. So, I think, they've certainly, from what Amanda tells me, it's been quite an amazing experience, and it's it all working generally fairly well, but, depends on what industry and what sector you're in. So I certainly know Victoria Park with Jess. I mean, obviously event-based business up there. She's done an amazing job of taking the initiative going to the hospital across the road and allowing them to set up in their free areas their COVID testing stations and areas and things like that. So, thinking about different initiatives and how people can still engage is definitely important. Alfie from 13 Cabs, I mean, they're, campaigns that I've been seeing out there because, transport industry is definitely, a way down due to the fact that people aren't travelling. But what I've seen with them, with their advertising campaign called 13 Things right now. So, come and get a cab to come and pick stuff up for you and drop things off and all that sort of stuff. So, ultimately, these are the types of businesses that are looking at different ways of, altering the way that they work and trying to look for, extra or different revenue streams during the difficult times.
So did you work much from home prior to this, or is this you did?
Yeah, so the modelling in terms of me working from home in an office has not really bothered me one bit, because generally I would work probably half my week at home and half my week in an office. So, so from that communication point of view, it's not really had a huge effect on me from that end. But I have to tell you, I missed the going out, because I have a lot of meetings with clients. Like, I haven't had a meeting with a client in a boardroom for probably 10 years. So, when my clients want to meet, they all want to go to a cafe for coffee, or they want to go to a bar for beer, or they want to go out for a nice big lunch. That's how my business works in terms of client relationships and communication. That part of it has become, well, it's probably not difficult. It's just more, I miss that part of it, because that's where you get the interaction and, and the social side of it. But from a pure technical operations point of view, no, it has not had any effect from that end, just purely from a revenue perspective.
Yeah, I never really used to work from home, to be honest, until the last 6 weeks. So probably now working 50-50, so working 2 to 3 days from home and 2 to 3 days in the office. And that's usually just because we've got 15 staff here. Most of the people have got their own offices. I've got a good setup now at home. I only sort of had that good setup, I guess, at the start of April. I've got a new system, so I could just basically, it's as fast working from home as it is here in the office. And I do like it. It's good, and obviously you get to spending a bit more time with the wife if she's at home or whatever. But doing it that way, so it seems to work okay, and it's just where I guess the future of my work will probably be like that. It'll be quite a bit of working from home, I think, or
But I think from a routine point of view, everyone's work situation is very different, but I still think it's important to get up, get dressed for the day, and start work. Not just my personal opinion, but getting up and rolling around in your pajamas until 11 o'clock and, working that way, I think is something that will potentially create a negative effect. But if you're getting up and working like you would normally, and trying to get into that mindset, I think is very important.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, it's obviously it's a bit different for some people working from home, that's for sure. And I've found it, I'm sort of getting used to it, but it's certainly, I'm going to see a future in that for me. So, what else? Any other news about anything else going on around the traps, Murray, with the Valley Chamber or anything else that you had?
So we've been looking at the chamber in terms of, what we can deliver for members and value. Obviously, we've still got all our members there that have been loyal to the chamber for a long time. And we're very conscious of the fact that, there's nothing being delivered at the moment. And as I said, it's not the chamber's fault or members' fault at all. But, what we will be doing is making sure that everyone's membership is extended out for the period of time that we can't effectively deliver events and a program. So that time will get added to the back end when memberships are due for renewal. And so really all we can do is, try and extend that value for money on the membership fees. And we're also about to start doing, or have started doing, member profiles and things like that as well. So, which is something that you're heavily involved in with Meet the Member.
We just talk about that in this podcast as well. The Meet the Member, I think it's still a great idea, and maybe we need to start doing that series on something like Zoom or something. I'm not, rather than face to face. I guess it's something, because my sort of work has been really busy since COVID, because of trying to understand all these things that the government are bringing in, and it's different changes. There's been obviously that's something I haven't certainly forgotten about, but I think we should probably start maybe doing these, before the end of this month, I reckon would be a good idea to maybe start
No,
doing some of
absolutely.
these member profiles and meet the member type things. So I might send you a bit of some email, some suggestions on how we can get that started. But I think that'd be a great idea. And anything that you'd like, because obviously you're the president and Amanda's got a bit of input in this. That way, I think we can sort of get the series, going and keep this sort of podcast alive. I mean, I'm not saying that my particular series is going to come to a complete end, but now that I've done 100 episodes, you get to a point. There might be a few, but they won't be as regular. I don't think it'll be as regular. I've got a few other different podcast ideas as well for other things, but for the Valley Chamber, I think the meet the member thing is going to be good. We'll certainly get started on that. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, no, I think it's very positive, and I think it's definitely keeps the communication channels going between people that want to talk to people. And there's some fantastic people out there with a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience in business and generally. And I mean, I think not only hearing about how they operate and run their own businesses, but also how they're adapting to the current times as well. And I think, this whole forced adaptation, scares the hell out of some people, and it probably does it to me as well a bit. But then there's others that are, really embracing it. So I think, learning and hearing how different people are implementing different strategies to pivot their business. And I think, this is certainly a platform, an initiative that the VCC can, work in conjunction with yourself to deliver to the members. I think it's a fantastic idea and initiative to get going on. So the other thing is too, social media. We're also, starting to profile more members on social media. So, making sure that, we've got members there, profiles going out and all that type of thing, in amongst updates to the COVID virus situation. But just want to keep profiling, talking to people, keep the communication going. And at this point in time, that's really all we can do in a positive fashion and share the information, which is what we're trying to do.
No, I completely agree. I guess the biggest thing that's sort of missing out of the last 6 weeks has just been no sport to watch on TV. It's just been,
shocker.
It's been crazy that we haven't had to. There's so many different sports that I like to watch at this time of the year, whether it's the AFL, the NRL, bit of Super Rugby, even the UFC. A lot of different types of things that have been put on the back burner for a bit, but hopefully in the next month or so they might start sort of happening again. What do you miss the most as far as that type of thing?
Well, I'm probably like you. I'm massively into the UFC. So, I mean, I've been actually searching on YouTube, watching, all sorts of fights from over the years. And, I've been finding that kind of thing, when you got so much to choose from, it almost could be current, and I mean, I wouldn't necessarily go back and watch a rerun of a major cricket match on YouTube for that long. But, when you got all these, sort of great sports and things like that you can engage in, I just think, when you sit back and, at that time you might normally go and, kick back and watch a bit of sport, do the same thing on your iPad or your laptop, have a beer and just try and pretend that it's all happening live. It's probably the only thing you can do. But that's sort of what I miss.
Certainly miss it. Big, I think it's 5 days away. A big pay-per-view in the UFC, the first one in about 8 weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. UFC 249 is happening on pay-per-view on Sunday.
Yeah, right.
So that's the first one for 2 months nearly. So that's going to be.
We don't have a crowd.
Sorry. They won't have a crowd. That's right. It'll be empty, pretty much an empty arena. And I think
for those guys, given the fact that half of them run on adrenaline, with such big crowds.
And I think it's going to be like that until the rest of until the end of June. I think any sport is going to probably be playing in an empty arena, whether it's the AFL or if they do get going again, the NRL. I think it will be an empty arena. And what NBA basketball, that was the other one that I was interested in following because that was the playoffs were about to start and then they pretty much cut the season on delay until I don't know what's going to happen with that. We don't know. You just don't know with some of these things. But then they bring it. Do you get a Netflix subscription at all? Have you been watching anything on Netflix?
Yeah, I have, but I mean, I'm not a huge sit down for 10 hours watching TV. I mean, I'm actually probably the worst at that stuff. I've tried to watch some of these amazing series occasionally, and I'll get 3 or 4 episodes into it, and then I'll go and get distracted and never come back, or I'll lose track of the story. So, you know, I've got friends that, you know, will sit down for 10, 12 hours at a time and watch an entire series in one go, but I'm not that person. I need to do things and keep busy. So I've probably watched about 5 or 6 of the good ones, but only 3 or 4 episodes or 5 episodes, and then that's about it for me. But I mean, that doesn't bother me too much.
Have you seen any of Ozark? Have you seen any of that?
Well, I did. I started watching that, but that was only because I was in hospital at the time. So I got through the first series of that. But I started getting into a few more episodes, but it's all dropped off. But I've heard it's it gets better and better as it goes.
Yeah, I think season 3 they're up to now. So
is it? Yeah, okay.
I think it might be finished of season 3, end of season 3 now. So, but that's a good series. I only started watching that a couple of weeks ago. The first season. It's really good. That documentary, everyone's been talking about it. Every person I talked to said, "Oh, what about this Last Stand documentary? You know, featuring the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan." It's had 6 episodes now. Have you seen any of that or heard about that?
No, I haven't at all. I've not necessarily ever been into basketball, but it's no, I haven't. So I'm sure those sort of things will be popular though.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. So I think, I'll just look forward to, I guess, interacting again with everybody in the Valley Chamber. It'd be interesting to see what the world looks like and when we can sort of get back and going. We hope it's obviously sooner rather than later, but
absolutely.
It's obviously thank you again for your support. With the podcast itself being the first and 100th episode featuring. It's a great chamber, and it's great to be associated with such great people when it comes to the chamber, and as it's certainly one of the highlights in all the good things that happen in my life. So it's certainly good to interact with those people, and it's just a pleasure to have you, I guess, on the podcast as well.
And I suppose to Tim, like on behalf of the Valley Chamber members and the board, we'd like to thank you for your enormous contribution. I mean, you do these things off your own back, and I have to say it's the responses and the feedback that I get is great. So I mean, it's a great initiative, and we 3,000% support it.
No, it's been great. It's been a great journey so far with this, and I've sort of set out the goal, pretty much achieved this one as far as the 100 episodes. I said at the start, this is what I wanted to do. We've had probably 70 different guests, 60 or 70 different guests on the podcast. Some of them have been obviously affiliated with the chamber itself, some just Brisbane-based people. But there's always been a connection to the Brisbane for pretty much any guest that's been on the podcast. So that's been, and maybe a bit of a business bent to a lot of it. So a bit about their business story, a bit about their personal story. So we've learned so much about so many people over the last couple of years as a result of doing this, and that's part of what you get out of it. Some very interesting stories, some funny people, some good ideas, some events that sort of take stock, and we'll continue to do these from time to time, but probably not as regular. But certainly we'll do them when we see a guest that hasn't been on before, and in particular that we feel that fits the mould and wants to tell their story for an hour or whatever it is as well. But the short sharp, I'll send me an email about the Meet the Member stuff, and we'll get some ideas of when we can start and who we can sort of interview first, and maybe the questions as to what we might sort of ask and probe, to have it sort of fairly structured rather than sort of off the cuff, which a lot of these, well, not so much, they're not off the cuff, but a lot of these sort of, podcasts get like that, where it sort of goes whatever direction the conversation decides to take.
Yeah, no, 100%. More than happy to do that, and I'm more than happy to help you get it off the ground and start to get everyone being profiled. Yeah,
no worries. I guess anything final to say before we finish off on this, historic episode from the Valley podcast?
Well, look, I mean, ultimately, just hope everyone, as our members, stay safe, stay well. Try and work through the issues that we've all been, handballed. And also, I want to let people know that the Valley Chamber Board is still very accessible. So, if anyone's got any concerns or just want someone to have a chat to, I certainly, always happy to put myself out there to have a chat. And certainly our our board is, got a huge amount of broad experience across lots of different industry sectors. So, if you just want to pick up the phone and just have a chat, give us a call. It might just be a case of sharing a bit of information or just having a comfortable chat. So please don't think because the chamber is not operational from a events point of view that we are not available, and because we are, and we want to make sure that our members, continue to navigate and hopefully succeed through this difficult time. So that's probably my words in closing.
I appreciate the kind words, appreciate that, and I think what we'll do is we'll get this uploaded today. I should be able to get that uploaded pretty soon, to be able to share that amongst all the members, just so that they can, I guess, hear what hear, I guess, from you what you've been up to, and how things have affected you in the Valley Chamber. So I think that's a lot of people. I'm not in the dark, but it's just a good idea to get a bit of an update just from the horse's mouth in a way. But yeah, and we'll share that around. This will also putting this probably up on YouTube as well. So this is so we can there as well. But yeah, and that's great. Thank you very much, Murray. All the best, and we'll see you again. Hopefully, chat again very soon, mate, with a beer.
No worries. Thanks, Tim. You take care as well.
See you, mate. See ya.
Bye.
Yeah, so that was episode 100, the feature part of the episode 100 with Murray Sutherland. There may be some more stuff to go on. That's the main thing. It's amazing. Yeah, that's been episode 100. Hope